Well, John, I'll hand it to you because you've got a lot of products to cover, a lot of technologies to cover, and the remote collaboration solutions that Teradek's at. So why don't you give us a view from the high level of what's going on and what's new? Let's focus on what's new and exciting from the world of Teradek.
Well, thank you, Martin, and thank you everyone for coming. You know, it's been a long year, and it's so nice to see everyone. And even though you're in little boxes, I have been enjoying a good drink on your behalf here. So I have 15 minutes to go over something that usually takes about 15 hours, but I'm going to do my best to give you a view from 10,000 feet of what and who and how Teradek has leveraged and changed over the last year, from being, you know, the go-to onset solution to now the offset solution. And, you know, how and why are these two things connected? How did we do that? And, you know, what's the real history behind everything that we've done in the last 10 years? I'm going to share my screen here. So everyone can see this, our website here, right? And what most people are familiar with us for is the Teradek Bolt family that, you know, for the last 8 years has moved from 300 feet, 1080, you know, to the latest generation of zero delay wireless transmitters. We're today doing 4K uncompressed, zero delay, with this new BB3 chipset that is more resilient, going to more receivers. And as someone said to me the other week, they're like, John, you know, we talk about social distancing. We never knew that Teradek was in front of social distancing on set for the last 6 years. Yes, we weren't happy with 6 foot. We went to 3,000 and 5,000. We really knew that you should keep yourselves apart, right? So this is something that, you know, we've been quite famous for. I mean, we actually won two Academy Awards for this technology this year. I think just because we've been keeping so many people safe, I don't even think they cared about the technology. But for those that know us, even before we were doing or producing the bolts, they were probably familiar with our IP products. And our IP products, we have been providing these even longer. And this was the Cube. This was the first product that Teradek actually had. This was a small little encoder device. Here we go. Sorry about my internet being slow. This is a small little device about the size of a packet of cards. I've been told that that is not politically correct. I can't call it cards, so I'll say it's about the size of a large packet of cigarettes. And this was a device that takes in video, encodes it into a video feed, and then streams that out over Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and also cellular. What do you mean by cellular? Well, this USB slot here, most people think that that's for charging their iPhone, but it's actually not. We make a little cell modem that you can plug in here, and thus you could put this on a camera and over a cellular connection, send this up to the cloud, where before we had to do social distancing, it was used to stream to Facebook, to YouTube, to, you know, any of the social platforms that we can, you know, that we now know and we now really, really, really love. Not. Anyhow, we have provided these encoders over the last 11 years to a whole different industry than that we are used to, right? We have provided these to churches that want to stream, sports events that want to stream. We even have the governments using these to stream. In fact, Teradek was given during COVID an essential business status by the state of California because we were providing our encoding gear to stream the message of the governor. And, you know, this was repeated around the country. Okay, so why do I talk about this in the world of remote monitoring? Well, about 4 years ago, we built a remote platform that allowed us, and was based in the cloud. It allowed us to take a stream from one of our encoders and send it to multiple CDNs, right? Multiple destinations. So as you can see here, this is one of my encoders that is come up to my core interface that allows me then to route it to a CDN, for example, right? This is typically what we were doing. We could stream to Facebook. We could stream anywhere we wanted to, right? And then COVID hit, and we made some specific changes in the way that we do things. We added this management protocol infrastructure with the ability to create what we call workspaces. Think of a workspace as a production name. So I can click create production name, right? Let's call it Star Wars, episode 55. And we can create that workspace. And now it asks me, oh, which encoder do you have there on set? Okay, well, it's this encoder. I now have this encoder on set, and now I have it shared in my workspace. Again, this is all based in AWS. Now, quick footnote. This is our new 4K HDR encoder, which means we can transmit from set 4K from our Bolt to our DIT, and then from our DIT, plug that into a Prism and send 4K HDR up to the cloud, and then it lands in our core account. Now, once it's in our core account, I now want to distribute this to Martin Porter, who needs to give me comment on what this camera is shooting, right? He's sitting at home, and I need to send him a feed. Well, the industry that we're in, we're always worried about security. So we encrypt this feed from set. Very, very sophisticated way to encrypt a feed with a Teradek device. I hope that you are watching. I took many lessons in enabling this and learning how to do it. It's quite a sophisticated procedure. One has to slide the mouse up here, click on secure, and now my feed is fully encrypted, turning into an SRT encryption with a passphrase. But I still haven't got this feed to Martin. Well, we added this ability and these apps called Core TV. Core TV is an app that you can download. It runs on Apple TV, it runs on Android, it runs on Apple. And I can now take my link from my encoder and share it with Marty. Marty, what's your email? Well, no, I'm not gonna make you give me your email, but I'm gonna share it with myself, john@teradek.com. And I have some options here. How long do I want John to be able to view my feed? Because if I'm on a set for a day and I've got an executive that is only needing to see for one day, I may not want to send all the feeds with him for all the time. So I have the ability to customize how long that password will be active for. I also have the ability to enable text and chat. What does that mean? Well, if you download our app and I send Marty a link, he and I can both be reviewing what is coming through the camera and chatting with each other and commenting whilst that is happening live. We can send a feed from set up to the cloud and then down to an iPad in 160 milliseconds. Marty could actually be on the beach in Hawaii, relaxing, watching shoots that are going on in, 3-4 frames of delay. I can also add a watermark so that if any of these feeds get out, if Marty decides to share this with somebody, it's going to have his email address watermarked into the clip. So I'm going to send me an invitation. I will now get an invite to view the feed. I'm going to take a shortcut and demonstrate that feed, show you what that looks like on a desktop. So this is what Core TV looks like. So now I've sent myself a feed, and there you go. Here's the stream up in the right-hand corner. Now, one of the questions I get asked the most by a lot of the executives that like to view these feeds, they phone and they start complaining. They say, oh, it's just jumping. I can't see fluid video. And I have to say to them, no, hold on a second. You got to click on the stream and then click live. So I'm now watching a live feed from set with audio. I can also go full screen of one or multiple cameras. Now, something that we've also released are 4K color wheels with HDR support. So if you are using the latest iPad, you will be able to actually view 4K HDR content with the different LUTs and the quality that you need to. I mean, we were talking about in the beginning of picking up our game in this industry. Well, I really think that moving from a 1080p feed to a 4K feed is something that's going to drive the next wave of production. And we've already seen that. We've seen a very large adoption on set with the 4K bolts. This is something that we have been deploying. We charge with a subscription based, and it is charged on the number of viewers that we are streaming to. In about 2 months, we are also releasing our 4K cube that will sit on set and not only live stream, but also record 4K 10-bit 422 proxies onto the SD card of the cube, and then chunk those up to the cloud so that they can be reviewed as well. And the hope is that we will also drop them into different folders. For example, I'm sure many people have heard of the collaboration we have done with Frame.io. Well, if we have the ability to drop these files also into Technicolor and Avid and Sony C and any other cloud platform that we work with, I think that we're in for a very exciting, camera to cloud adaptation of our industry. And we're also working on we're working also on the other side of that, which is cloud to consumer. How much time have I got, sir? I've tried to be as quick as I can.
I think you did it. We got a couple of questions already, though.
Okay. All right.
Anything else to wrap it up before we go into the question mode?
No, I've just given a very high overview of what we do in the workflow. I'd love to chat with people individually for individual questions with pleasure.
Well, I put your email in the chat. Anybody wants to talk to John, it's in there. We got a couple of quick questions, though. I think Kyle Jones. Kyle, you're from Run, right? Run Studios. You're here. Your question was: Is this cloud agnostic? Is it only AWS, or is Azure? Does it work with Azure as well?
Well, up until this point, we have only worked in AWS. That doesn't mean that we're not looking at Azure, and it doesn't mean that we can't work with Azure. Okay, so we provide we provide this as a solution to some very well. I can't say the name, but I'll give a clue. We provide this to a company that is part of the largest group of post-production companies in the world. We skinned it for them. It's their own product, and they are all based in the Microsoft cloud. So we will inevitably have to move to other clouds. And if I went into a little bit more detail on that, the cloud platform is broken into two. The interface could be in AWS, but the media could reside in Azure, for example.
Okay. I also have a question from Michael Claxton. Michael, do you want to ask it yourself, or do you want me to just read what you said here? Give you a shot for interested in talking?
Yeah, I can see the question. Okay, is security being done on the device, or is it a TSL to the cloud endpoint? We are sending encrypted from the cube. The cube is outputting SRT. So the cube will output SRT up to core, and from core will then distribute SRT encryption, 256-bit encryption. If we're not doing SRT, we have our own protocol called TDS, which is a protocol that is native on the cube. And TDS is a proprietary, nobody knows what this protocol is kind of protocol. Why do we use TDS? Well, we're getting into a bit more. Okay, so when I connect a cube, when I connect a SIM into a cube, core recognizes that that's a cell connection. And core will tell the encoder, it will manage in real time the network connectivity. It will manage in real time the bit rate that it is getting from that cell modem. There's some intelligence there, and we'll do adaptive bit rate encoding on the encoder. This will minimize dropped packets. And we designed this protocol called TDS to specifically work with the encoder. So yes, we are fully encrypted.
Okay, we got a couple more minutes for some questions. If anybody, Dave Van Hoy, any questions for John on your end?
The other question is latency.
Oh, latency. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So latency from a cube up to cloud down to iPad is 160 milliseconds.
Okay. Any other questions? Dave, you interested in asking, or Steve Manella, any questions for John?
I have one question, which is, where we have clients that are running in other clouds, and certainly I understand you can keep your orchestration layer where it is and put the data layer elsewhere. Do you expect any security problems around that? We're finding that cloud to cloud connection tends to be somewhat verboten in terms of data planes. And so the idea of having the orchestration layer one place and the data plane another, in theory, sounds great, but in reality, it is often a problem.
So video doesn't actually go up to core. So video actually won't be transmitted. to the interface. The only thing that we send to the interface is JPEG, still frame images. So that's what's that. So think of Core as your Gmail account where you're just getting, the odd iframe of a picture.
Right.
But the video is actually going through an engine, and I can run you through in more detail the way that we can deploy these engines, which is, by the way, a Linux app that can run in Azure if we wish. And Core,
in my case, it's not Azure; it might be another hyperscaler.
okay.
So, but same concept. As long as you've got quite frankly, as long as you've got a Linux, image that we can deploy, that pretty well solves the question.
So we do.
Yeah.